3-0 sweep in Last Hero Standing, there might still be 1 or 2 little innovations still to come with this deck.
And we did just have a slight error on the decks we were showing you, of course. We showed double Shaman, and Warma is going to be on the Druid, and that is correct, as per the sheet I have here. This is going to be, just to fill you in, the Lady Anaconda token-based Druid. So it's not the miracle we've been seeing earlier from Blythe and Gabby. It's got a much more focus on going nuts with Lady Anaconda and having that Glowfly Swarm, Arbor up, potentially Solar Arbor up options, and there is that double Germination as well to even just make a board full of Lady Anacondas in itself. So it's going to be much more of an aggressive list as opposed to a big combo-based list.
And this is already a pretty interesting dynamic developing between these two hands, because Warma has the nutty opening of Classic Token Druid, which is Fungal Fortunes into Glowfly Swarm. RDU does have the Perpetual Flame to deal with that, though. Problem usually being that Perpetual Flaming an entire board of Glowflies is usually too much overload to take. However, he also has a really nice hand to line that up perfectly into the 3rd overload card being played, right? So he gets the immediate unlock of all of those mana crystals back for the previous turn. So I think RDU is looking pretty stacked for answers right now, but for what Warma's hand is telling him to do.
Yeah, it's a real tough one, though, because Warma's got double Fungal, which means, yes, if he plays Glowfly and it gets Perpetual Flamed, that's unfortunate and not what he wants. But he's got plenty more where that came from, right? It's not like he's just out. Whereas, if RDU clears the board and his hand stays roughly, looking like this kind of quality, then it's the same old issue I have with Quest Shaman is, will the follow-up from clearing that board be strong enough versus what Warma's going to throw at him for the wave number 2?
Oh, RDU is going to drop his first quest completion, go for the turbo plan, the pressure plan instead, which works. Obviously this way he gets a bunch of minions in play preemptively that can A, deal damage to Druid, because Druid sucks at killing minions, and B, if Glowflies come down, he has a bunch of 2/3s to contest the Glowflies, right? But it does mean if he is forced into a position where he has to Perpetual Flame a board of Glowflies, he is going to have to hold that overload for the next turn.
And do you like him using, he can of course go Innovate Overgrowth this turn, he can save it, play a little bit slower and maybe plan to innovate the Glowflies, but do you like him committing Luna to one of these minions now, just to save some damage and just have the minion gone?
How many cards do you end up with after that point is the big question, I suppose, because you go down to 5 now, you'll draw up to 6 next turn. So you'd be playing a Glowfly for 5, which is a little bit short of full board. Yeah, as you say, he could have even gone Luna Fungal that turn.
Right, exactly.
And then potentially, I think he'd be burning 1 card at that point, but not the end of the world, and then had a massive full value Fungal Fortunes on the following turn. But this is the thing that this curve opens up, which is going with the Blythe line, as she'll now be known, of going with Best in Shell instead. But that's the perfect response to Best in Shell.
Also, just having the totem as well as a 1/1 makes that trade much more appealing, very much unlike what we saw yesterday when there were just no even remotely positive trades available.
Absolutely right.
But again, Walma has so much gas in the tank. He's still got a Fungal to play. He's got his Glowflies. He's got 2 Fungals, sorry. He's even got Nourish, but probably that's going to be saved for later on. Probably very much enjoy a second Luna in the near future just to deal with this slugger.
Yeah, instead I think he's just going to try and use these Glowflies to fight for the board instead. This is no longer really an aggressive push to win the board. This is just trying to make sure he's not going to get run over very quickly on the other side. But as mentioned, that Perpetual Flame is there to clear this up. It will be a big L in terms of overload on the following turn, but gets a healing totem as well. Probably the perfect outcome in that position. I believe this is going to tick part 2 of the quest as well and pull him out another 3/3 to go with all of this. Yep, there we go.
This is the problem now, because although RDU's done a great job of staying ahead on board and pushing back against the board from Warma, this is close to all he's got for the rest of the game, right? It feels like, anyway. So either this board goes away, then there has to be charged calls or something very specific drawn off the top.
Animation looked clean. Yes, it was. In case you're not aware, there is a slight difference even in the initial animation of when Fungal Fortunes is going to discard a card as opposed to not. So you can usually tell immediately that looked like a 3-card draw, and it absolutely was.
Yeah, those were best in shell once more. Oh, I actually like Pounce, weirdly enough. Yeah, just kill the 2-2, get it gone. Means it's fairly reasonable to expect one of these to live this turn. I think that's a fair assumption, especially with RDU only having the 1 mana.
That was a pretty good way to spend 1 mana this turn, it's got to be said.
Mm-hmm. Breaking the rule, Sol.
I don't understand what's happening. Have I not explained the rule well enough? Why are you looking? Just click both.
Does mean he can Lightning Bolt Brakan next turn, right? At worst. Or he can probably Bloom Brakan and then Bolt.
Just for reference, because Revolve is in hand, I suppose it's worth knowing, the turtles are 4-drops. Makes sense. You want to compare them to like Oasis Snapjaw, right? As a comparison point to how much mana they would cost.
The easy thing to think about is most single minions are roughly the mana cost of the spell that made them, but anything more than single minions generally go downwards.
Mm-hmm.
Warma just taking a turn off to an extent, just filling up the hand once again. Now he has some powerful options with just Solar Scenario Ward alone, potentially causing a huge problem here.
Yeah, problem is this is now Brakan turn for RDU, which means enormously powerful things are going to start happening.
Yeah, Overdraft can kill off the 2/4 as well, right?
I don't think he's overdrafted. Don't you just drop Nothing Can Stop Us this turn?
Oh, he can push 6 though.
He can also make his board enormous. Not good. I think I like the buff.
Wait, can he... Will Overdraft unlock 1 mana for him this turn? It won't, right? It won't matter yet because he spends... Never mind.
Spend 1 to unlock 1.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was just trying to look at what the mana locks were on the pool, but yeah, you are right. Spend 1 to unlock 1. Here's the defense time here for Warma. Double Scenario Ward. Oh. That's not good.
Got worse. It got worse this expansion. That's still below average, I think. I haven't run the exact numbers on 8-drops yet this expansion. But 8-drops did get worse. A couple of very mediocre 8-drops got added to the pool.
Oh, this is what you want. This is the follow-up you wish you could consistently do with Brakan in this deck,
Absolutely.
Right? Brakan into this. You have 1 bajillion cards. And now it's time to go nuts.
There's a big old juicy 10 boys as well on the charge call.
Do you ever just take the hit and double trade here?
What to do?
Don't think so. Oh, he's going to use Storm Strike. Okay. I think if you go for charge call there, you can just take like Rabbit plus Big Minion as your 2 choices.
Yeah,
right?
I guess.
Clear the board and go face.
Yeah, I guess I'll change my question.
Oh, it's lethal. It's never mind.
Oh, is it? We're idiots. Yeah, we're talking about the intricacies of charge call and how to position the board. RDU's just killed him. Yeah, this is really nice, actually. The double lightning bolt, of course. Very difficult to appreciate the potential damage Brakan gives you. But again, I do think the guidance is such a great pickup after Brakan. A lot of the time in this deck, you need to use it earlier to progress your quest to get Brakan, but whenever you can go Brakan Guidance, it's incredible. It's so many cards, and those cards generally do pretty powerful things when you can double them up with the only using 1 because of the Brakan effect. So big game there for RDU, taking a win with the quest Shaman, and that means Walma's going to have to go back to the tank here and think about what he wants to queue into this Shaman again.
Yeah, and you can trace that all back to the decision right at the beginning just to go Note Taker, Bloom, Feral Spirits, right? To load up as hard as possible. Because that pushed so much early damage that then even through Solar Scenarion, he was able to push this much damage at the end. And good on RDU for keeping his eyes on the prize while us silly casters were getting baited by doing fun things with Charge Call.
Also as well, that opening sort of pushed back on Warma to just go for the aggressive glowflies, right? As you saw, the glowflies he played were very much just, please trade into all these so I can not die. Whereas if he took a bit slower, the glowflies might have come down a little bit earlier. Looking at this, it looks like Warma is going to choose to go for the effective mirror match for his response, as opposed to queuing, I believe, his rogue, which again, you can understand. A lot of the matchups, this deck is either you have to pull something out the bag mid or late game, or you're playing a deck you can just Perpetual Flame away, which is very much the Miracle Rogue of last season.
That's true. I do think there's game there, again, because they have that, the Gabby Shadow Priest factor, right, of annoying Divine Shields in annoying places to set things up. I think we saw that in, what was it, Alutemu's series, where his Perpetual Flames just kept hitting trolly minions, you know, Kazakus Golems and Divine Shields and so on. I think there was a 1 in 16 outcome where it hit the only minion that didn't chain twice in a row. So I'm certainly interested in putting some more time, putting some more research into the old Tempo Rogue matchups against some of these new meta decks, because, you know, obviously still fairly fresh in a new expansion. We had a very early balance patch as well, so the majority of my time certainly has been getting to grips with the new decks and haven't really put too much time into potential old decks. But it really seems like the Tempo Rogue is back with a vengeance, with, you know, Lambi series, Warma, a few other players in the Americas region as well, I believe, having it, and just it did look fantastic overall in APAC, but we will get into that a little bit later because, as you mentioned, Walma has chosen to go with the Quest Shaman mirror here instead.
What to do?
Yeah, and what the key factors in the mirror match? Is it all about accelerating quest? Do you half forgo the quest for want of just going for maximum board pressure as quickly as possible to try and race?
It does seem like quest completion is objective number one, because, again, you can look at RDU's last turn, and that's kind of the two things that quest completion does for you, right? Is it sets you up for those lethals out of nowhere kind of situation, but also it opens up the dynamic where we've talked a lot in the past about, like, glaive-bound tennis, fire elemental tennis, lily pad lurker tennis, right, where you don't necessarily want to be the first one to go. There's no such thing as charge call tennis. If you're the first person to play charge call, you're in business. And even like you need to get double rabbit on the other side to fight back against like an aggressive push from charge call on the first side, and even then you're not like retaining a board to fight back against it after that point. So, you know, fast quest completion into charge call does seem to be the order of the day in this matchup.
I'm looking at this here. Initially, I might up like Bloom, Note Taker, Serpent Shrine. Looks pretty nice here, just to get another Serpent Shrine portal in the hand. Looks like RDU's looking at a different approach, though.
Bit of a dead turn now, having hit the awkward card off the investment opportunity.
Can't he Bloom, Serpent Shrine, overdraft this turn as well, even with that?
Can.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he's going to make a similar high-tempo play to what he did before. Go with the Serpent Shrine instead.
A lot of tricky options, depending on what you want, right? You can see this like a ton of overload here, but he can clear it out with this third card, whichever one it may be.
This doesn't work. This doesn't work the way you think it does, RDU. He's trading it. Okay.
Right, okay.
I was wondering whether that was worth in the long run, just to deal it first, right, while you do have the overloaded mana crystals, but then you're kind of wasting your first quest reward, right? So I think overall, RDU's play probably does make the most sense, just trading it away.
I was even wondering if he was just going to play Canal Slogger instead, right? He could have just done that.
Sure. No, that makes
and
sense.
had the value trade on the second wolf.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Now it's on Warma to respond again. Although quest is important, well, one, RDU did progress his quest this turn, but you can't lose hold of this board, especially when there's just a casual 5/2 elemental there, potentially threatening a ton of damage.
Yeah. Warma really has almost the exact same turn that RDU had on the previous turn. He's in 1 out of 3 territory for his quest, though, so just the 2 Lightning Blooms will complete his particular quest. He also has the added complication of the second Note Taker. Anyone that's been watching Fino stream, or I believe following his Twitter where he posted it, can see how complicated some of the possibilities can become when you do have double note taker available.
Could you repeat that?
Is that what was going on in those screenshots?
Oh no, not that one.
Oh.
It was just like this really cool lethal puzzle where he had
that
two
one,
diligent
okay,
note
yeah,
takers and vivid spores and so on and so yeah. It was
Right, yeah. I thought you just meant the oh my god, what is going on screenshots that I saw.
the dinosaur meme.
I preferred the Mars rover one.
Okay, fair enough.
Here, though, Ardu has managed to stay ahead with the Canal Slugger. It's only 6-2, so it can get cleaned up nicely with a lightning bolt, but the problem is that's all that's really going to happen if that's the case for Warma.
Yeah, and this is kind of what I'm alluding to when I say this deck doesn't feel quite right, just in the way the terms of resources are allocated, the way the curve is built. These kind of hands where you just feel like you're top decking on a prayer just seem to happen a little
Every
bit
game.
for my liking. Oh, I'm not going to say every game. We've seen quite a few Quest Shaman games in GM where they've just had infinite resources the entire time, but you do seem to run into these situations fairly often, a little bit too often for my liking.
Bit of an unfortunate amount of mana available here for RDU as well. Like Diligent Note Taker Serpent Shrine would be a very nice turn. Obviously can't do it with that one overload. Might just have to let this live for now. Yeah, I'm a fan of Serpent Shrine again. I think in this mirror, it's so powerful because you remove their minions and generate your own at exactly the same time whilst progressing overload, so that's a lot.
Would you say, in fact, that you remove their tempo while generating your own?
I might say that, yeah. Ooh, hang on.
Can we use? We could have used it, I guess, but yeah, probably more important to kill the.
Yeah. They're going to be a
not looking pretty.
Oh. It's tough, right? Because Serpent Shrine kind of does the job you want Fireheart to do, but Fireheart could do more, right? So I guess the safety thing is just play it first, see what you get. It's got to be investment, right?
I think so, yeah. Needs the resources. Okay.
Got to be investment.
Okay. Well, this has gone well.
Actually, a tiny bit surprised you didn't pick guidance there. Got to be guidance. Right?
That was the nuttiest 3 mana I've ever seen in my life with Instructor Fireheart.
Is this worth blooming out?
Where are we on Quest? He hits Quest now just with the Perpetual Flame, so no, he's
okay,
chilling,
you can wait.
right?
Yeah, sorry, apologies.
He is big chilling on this hand.
I thought he was away from it, so he wouldn't have done it. But yeah, the guidance will just get more stuff with Burkhan on board or live, I guess. What a turn.
What just happened that turn?
I don't know, but I'm going to go for Fireheart way more than I normally do, if that's what's going to happen.
Investment, guidance as the 3 options on a 3 mana Fireheart. That's outrageous.
And on the second one, right, he got guidance and investment offered. He just chose investment.
Yeah.
Well, next turn's going to get very spicy indeed for Walma, and RDU has to pull something out of the bag here.
I wonder.
Right, yeah, copy his turn. Somehow go investment into guidance. Keep it going.
You'd love to take Charge Call here, but you're... I mean, maybe you still do. You're 0-2 from Brukan, right? Yes, that's where he is. He does have those 2 Overload cards in hand that he needs, so maybe it is just Charge Call, just to make sure that you have the power play after Brukan. Hope your opponent doesn't have it. Yeah, it seems like the best he can do.
And here we go.
This is about to be disgusting. Double Bloom, double Guidance. Charged Call, pack it up.
Rare
They are
occasion.
10s. Yep.
It wasn't overloaded.
Scrappy boy. Scrappy boy. And scene.
Oh, there is a perpetual. Mage needs a little bit of spell damage to help him out.
Mm-hmm.
Could you repeat that?
Going to rely on double charge call of his own to an extent.
Write that down.
7 drops to make me sick. Summon 7 drops. Honestly, get out of my game. Yeah.
Wow, and just like that, off the back of Fireheart, honestly, that was an incredible win for Warma. It was looking pretty back and forth for the majority of that game, but having Brukan quicker and then having the guidance to back it up, that Fireheart giving him exactly what he needed, and that is how ruthless that mirror match can be. It looks scrappy in the beginning, but if one player takes that one extra step ahead, it normally does end. And as you quite rightly pointed out, yes, there was mana differences in the charge calls, but the player who charge calls first normally does just win.
I'd love to know the odds of that Fireheart, because almost that exact Fireheart had to happen, because it wasn't just like the cards cycling 3 times until he got to the one that he wanted at the end, right? All 3 parts of those 3 options that he took ended up being relevant, because it drew the Lightning Bloom, he then had the Guidance in his hand to be able to pop off with, and the Bruka, like, it was all essential. So he needed almost exactly, if not exactly, that 3-card Fireheart at 3 mana, which has to be astronomically unlikely. He looked so dead in that situation, but he's kind of rescued the series now, because yes, he doesn't have a good matchup in the counter queue with Mage going into Shaman, but if you're in Last Hero Standing, if you're queuing a mirror as your best counter queue, that doesn't feel good to begin with. If you then go on to lose that mirror, then that's when you're in trouble. You're in trouble.
100%. It does mean, though, of course, like, because, as you mentioned, Radu does have that counter queue play. He has Mage versus Shaman now, and then if he wins this, he has to just deal with Warma's Rogue, right? Which still, you know, I feel is doable. So, yeah, RDU still having the benefit of winning the first game, which naturally happens in Last Hero Standing. So we'll see how this matchup will go. He does, of course, have an Incanter's Flow ready to go on curve.
Wasn't even going to mention it. It's just a given.
That's a little
Honestly,
bit of ways to go for the rest of
I feel at this point, Raven, they should just code the European super accounts to just discount all Mage spells by 1 mana and just save everyone the trouble.
Yeah, just give them 1.5 of them on turn 2 or 3, right?
Yeah.
Quest, because like it's 50% of the chance they can get the second one ready to play on curve, but they always have the first.
No, I mean literally the cards just cost, like, you know, like the meme of like, oh, golden card should have a bonus, like +1/+1 or +1 less or something, you know, like that, but European GM accounts, yeah.
Solved.
Yeah.
I'm a tiny bit surprised that RDU decided to cycle the fire sale then, especially with Hot Streak First Flame.
Yeah, true. I think on the other side of that, because he has Hot Streak First Flame, he doesn't really feel like he's going to be needing that usage as a fire spell, but it is just a good AoE against a lot of minions, right?
Exactly. The First Flame doesn't deal 3, so that's my biggest gripe with that, at least. Going for Thanos, valuing the card draw effect, I believe, over anything else here.
Yeah, I think so. He's certainly consistent. He was valuing the card draw that he got from cycling the fire sale, and he's valuing the card draw that comes from Blood Mage Thanos, and the reason for both of those things is that he hit flow, right? Like, card draw just goes up the decision tree by several steps when you have Incanter's Flow played on your deck.
Yeah, the strong get stronger. That's the way it normally works here. Revolve going to come out denying the card draw there from RDU, and okay. Warma didn't get a bad end of the stick at all.
In RDU, you can see how upset he is about that.
Oh!
Whoa!
Let's go!
Whoa!
Where's your fire sale now?
I mean, for real, yeah. Can we have a fire sale back, please?
The storm is in me.
Oh no.
The storm is
Disaster.
Unlocks the mana crystals as well with that play. Gets an additional Zappy Boy ready to go. That is a lot of damage heading RDU's way. Fireball in
That's
this 2-4?
such a disaster. He does fireball the 2-4.
He has to, right? He has to do something.
Yeah. I think probably at that point, if we're fireballing a 2-4, you should most often just concede in shame, but...
Oh, I was going to say fireball face, but you never know. And as much as we were saying, if you queue a mirror as your best queue and lose, that's a big problem. If you counter queue with a reasonable matchup and lose, that is an even bigger problem, I'd argue, because that's when you might be finding yourself in a lot of trouble in something that is generally considered favourable.
But do not count your boy RDU out yet, because that was the nuts draw. He still gets one more here from the draw from the first stage of quest line. That is fantastic as well. He is now, however, lacking Arcane to be able to tick this over again and discover an additional spell. This could be one of those absolute miracle mage turns where you go from being dead to just completing multiple steps of quest and gaining resources in the same turn. But he's just that Arcane spell short of being able to achieve that. Worth noting, by the way, Warma on the previous turn chose to Totem and Lightning Bolt face instead of playing Feral Spirit because he was scared of Fire Sail specifically. But this is always something that you do have to think about in Hearthstone is if I'm playing around AoE, by underdeveloping, does that mean, do I give my opponent other outs, right? Because you can imagine 2 other minions on this board, suddenly Warma's still pushing damage. That flurry doesn't necessarily just lock him out from being able to attack this turn. Now, I'm not criticizing the decision because if you compare the likelihood of the 2 outs, one being just Fire Sail and the other one being Refreshing Spring Water, First Flame, Second Flame, Brain Freeze, Flurry, you can probably work out which of those 2 is more likely.
Okay, is this a Flame Strike and Hope? You will be 1 mana off being able to actually cast it this turn.
Observe and reflect.
Oh yeah, that's true. I didn't even think about Hot Streak.
I still think he... do you think he just still goes for it? Can he needs to press the hide button for me. There we go. Yeah, because he can just Brain Freeze, right? He shouldn't be dead. I think I would have gone for it there.
He just took Mirror Entity instead so that he could tick on to... He's just trying to go for Turbo Quest completion, right? Because this way he has Hot Streak.
Which is fair, yeah.
Which is just the 1 remaining fire that he needs, so he just prioritized taking the Arcane spell in that situation instead.
Walma's going to get the good news as soon as he attacks, which I think he will.
I mean, he saw Arcane tick, so he knows...
Oh, of course. Yeah. You are completely right.
Small decision, but important there for Warma to go with the Portal and not Feral Spirit, because he needed that 1 board space remaining for the 3/3 to summon from the 3rd Overload card.
Charming composition.
Blow again! Does Flurry ever keep him alive? Oh wait, he runes Orb into Fire Sail, right?
Sign me up.
That's the out.
Yep. Seems good.
Oh! That's quest done. He's not out of the woods yet though, because he still will need card draw to follow up this with his Dawngrasp next turn, but there's a glimmer of hope here on RDU's side of the board. And is that a second?
Oh, that's huge. That's Charged Call.
I didn't see, sorry.
Currently on 7 and ticking to 8 off the Feral Spirit, so that's a nice interval for the Charged Call to come down and get a very impactful minion here. Loads up plenty of pressure so that the Mage on the other side is not just going to be able to jam Dawngrasp most of the time. But still, Dawngrasp Cram Session can do work here.
Still, Dawngrasp's Cram Session could do work if he trades away the Fire Sail.
Yeah, you have to go for it, right? It's your only out.
He could do the... Yeah, 3/6. Yeah, it has to be right. He could have done the Combustion Fire Sail and pinged, but he's still left with whatever minion comes out of the Proto Drake. Exactly. So yeah. He is almost certainly, if not certainly, dead anyway. So yeah, had to go for it there.
Ice Barrier Combustion.
Yeah,
he's
technically alive.
The best kind of alive, as we all know.
done.
2 damage each side this way. Oh! Alakir! Boom! That is going to wrap it up.
That is going to be the game. Warma wins again with the Shaman, and again, I think it's where my half-negative view of this deck comes from, is how few resources the Shaman actually has by this point in the game, unless they've gone crazy, of course, with guidance, with Brakan when it goes nuts. But in general, like, just about doing enough to cross the line there for Warma. RDU couldn't get hold of that cram session post-quest finish, and just couldn't get hold of the answers. And that means now RDU, I believe, has his Hunter left over, and this is one of the matchups that Shaman can actually deal with pretty well, at least in my opinion.
That turn was insane, being able to bloom out the Novice Zapper as well. Like, this is 2 unlikely situations in a row that Warma has found himself digging out of, right? The first in the Quest Shaman Mirror, which doesn't start off as an unlikely matchup to win, but the position he was in, he looked so far behind. And then that Fireheart came along and saved him. Then to cue the unfavorable into Mage on the other side and just get so much early aggression going. A couple of decisions to look at, I suppose, from RDU's side with the trading of the Fire Sale, as you alluded to initially, and then also the non-pick of the Flame Strike on the turn after that, to turbo a quest that was never playable in the end, right? Like, you have to at least ask the question about that when it happens. But still, I think, you know, very well played game from Warma, and a very good draw from Warma, and a good couple of outcomes as well, getting himself some free boards out of nowhere.
Also, effectively back-to-back charge call at that point in the game is about as good as it's going to get in terms of drawing straight off the top and hoping for the best. Which does mean, like I said, we are moving on to RDU on this Face Hunter, and it is a matchup that on the surface might look close because, you know, both can be reasonably aggressive in the opening. Face Hunter has, in a roundabout way, more consistent ways to end games because of the high damage spells that can work no matter what. But the Shaman often gets the better end of the stick here because they have better AoE clearing power, and honestly, I do think the Canal Slog is a big factor as well, being able to not only clear off some of the chunkier minions from Hunter, but also healing for 6 is a big deal.
It really is, yeah. Also, Walma gets to go first here, which I would have to imagine is a huge factor. Haven't actually checked the specific numbers on this matchup, but generally feels like the kind of matchup where going first would be a huge advantage.
RDU does have all the options in the world here, right? I imagine it's going to be a Felmore, yeah. Makes sense. Not like Neophyte's realistically blocking anything relevant at this point. You're really looking for a few turns time for the Neophyte, I think.
Agreed, yeah.
Unless he's got no other options, then he will just play on curve, of course.
It's really good on turn 2, I would say, in this matchup, because Feral Spirits and Portal are the 2 cards that generally Shaman want to go for on curve to overload and develop, so you get to block both of those. Just a really good outcome for you.
Good enough for Warma, though. He still has plays, right? He isn't actually locked out of a turn, which, as you said, can happen when this is played on 2, so he still has reasonable follow-up. He's going to isolate that Fellhound again, and at least try and defend these minions that he already has, so... Where does the 5 damage go? Okay. Oh, wait.
Not actually that good for RDU, right? Like, maybe in the long run, obviously, the 5 damage might prove to be important, but now... Oh, look at this turn. Bloom, Serpent Shrine Portal for 4, Lightning Bolt for 4, with unlocked mana crystals along the way as well. That is a ludicrous Hearthstone turn.
Spell damage is magnificent, isn't it?
Draw an Overload card. Okay, if that was like second Bolt there, he then gets another 3/3 taunt this turn as well, but he's just going to have to wait, I suppose.
The spell damage made the turn. And RDU is definitely on the back foot, but he does have a game plan now. Warsong Wrangler into second Rhino means 2 Rhinos in hand, next 2 turns minimum planned out. He can push damage and almost certainly bat away any minion on the board here, but this is going from bad to worse, and there might just be too many minions to deal with, since the first one he has to kill is a 0/2, and he's not even pushing any damage.
It's just 4 health minion into 4 health minion into 4 health minion into spell damage bolt, spell damage portal, spell damage portal. This could not have lined up any worse. I want to rewind all the way back to Warma's turn 2. So I do want to give him credit for something which I think might go a little bit unnoticed, which is he totemed onto. And you might look at that and think, so what? But
I've done that before.
Right, yeah, it's that difficult. I can press the button. But most people's instinct in a heavily tempo-based matchup would not be to press the hero power there, right? He could have spent mana on drawing a card with investment opportunity. He could have played the Novice Zapper. But what that enabled him to do is, because that extra totem was on play, 2 turns later when the Felmore was waking up, he was minimizing his odds of the bad thing happening. And the bad thing was probably going to be the value trade over the 3-2 Zapper. He didn't actually mind that much about taking the hit to the face, but getting that one extra target in play first with the totem on turn 2 could have, there's no way of knowing, but it could have proven to be incredibly relevant this game by keeping the Zapper alive.
Here now, no true surprise here, it's just the trade. The trade in the field contact might look kind of strange on surface, but it's got no real value in this deck, no payoff, and it's 1 less health, which is a big deal when it comes to having more targets on the board for piercing shot, rhinos, and so on and so on.
That's right.
Here though, suddenly, like I said, the plan for RDU with the rhinos is a decent plan, but when there are so many minions on board, the high attack of the rhino isn't quite good enough. You'd much prefer to, say, for example, have True Aim Crescent along with this rhino, right, to have multi-trade turns?
Multi-trade.
Yeah, and RDU does run 1 True Aim Crescent in his list, so it is possible if he draws it next turn and it's not dealt with now.
I think that's why that card is there primarily, and why I do like it so much, is that in games like this, it gives you a win condition that just doesn't exist otherwise, right? Because suddenly your rhinos transform from 4 or 5 damage to 8 to 10 damage, and if you play 2 of them back to back, you can just win games from off board while being miles behind. It just opens up routes that just aren't normally available.
Yeah, Wind Fury rhinos are quite good, is the summary of that story. I do like this though from Warma just playing Brakan, less even for its overall effect, even though there's no mega tidal wave coming to wash RDU away, but also it's a 7/7, like, that's just hard to kill, and RDU's on 12 health, right? So basically any damage spell would end it here if you can't kill off this Brakan.
Walma will just be looking at this turn going, yes,
keep going.
More.
Oh my god.
Okay, please leave the 7/7 up, and please RDU, please Warma, don't draw lethal.
Well, that's the question, right? Oh no, he'll never do it, right? He'd never play Marsh Spawn for lethal if the Brakan was left up.
Nah, you always swag on them with the tidal wave here.
I don't even want to look. I don't think I can deal with what RDU's face is going to look like. Just watch the camera, guys. That's all you need to look at.
Adorable now as well, yeah. Okay, so he gets to clear the 7/7, but still same effect in general. Massive board of 1/1s being left behind, so ideal scenario for Walma, pretty much. Right, don't you dare draw lethal.
Yeah! Oh no, play it! Don't play anything else, come on. Oh yeah, the March Spawn's not even that. Oh, it's Battlecry, sorry. Like a champ, RDU's going to keep playing the game. And honestly,
this always gets there, right?
Well, Shaman can dead draw, right, for a few turns.
Seems ambitious at best.
What, piercing shot into quick shot into Barrack? Like, it's a lot of damage.
I'm uninterested in all of those cards.
Yeah, let's brawl.
Locked up with somewhere to go.
Yeah, just load up the minions, threaten lethal next turn. Hard to imagine a world where RDU has any game against all of this. Both Rhinos gone, so even the True Aim Crescent is not going to do anything, and that is going to be a very strong performance from Warma, particularly in a series where I led out saying it doesn't really feel like Quest Shaman is at the power level to be like a sweep deck in Last Hero Standing. What does Warma do? He comes along and he sweeps with Quest Shaman in the most unexpected of circumstances, I would say, from being miles behind in the first game against the opposing Quest Shaman, then winning an unfavorable against the Mage on the other side, and then just this absolute destruction of a game, just dismantled Face Hunter.
And also bigger questions, does last season's Miracle Rogue stand up to the current meta? Maybe we'll never know, because in Last Hero Standing, you might not have to play it, as we didn't see it out from Warma, of course. So it does mean he is going to join Bunny Hopper and Gabby there in this top 4, and now we have J4 versus Frenetic to round out the day. We are going to go to break in a second, but before we do so, do you have any favourite to pick in this next matchup?
I mean, I know that you would be very happy if I just said, you know, Jay, because he's got Quest Hunter and Quest Hunter's the nuts or something.
Don't steal my material, Sol.
Okay, fair enough. I'm very